Welcome to the Under the Hat podcast,
the show where we talk about everything and anything that is top of mind in education.
The goal is to provide meaningful conversations to what is currently happening in our classrooms.
Stories, pains,
moments of success.
We want to hear it all.
Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Under the Hat. We are on episode 53. Super excited for this season. I know that Sophie and I did the kickoff last week, had a phenomenal time chatting about a range of things. But Sophie, we are in August. So do you have like, and maybe back to when you were in the classroom or a coach, like August is where we need to go back to work as educators, right? Like, did you have any like rituals or things that helped you prepare for back to school?
Oh, you mean besides the crippling anxiety?
Or maybe just that, or maybe, I don't know.
When to prepare back to school, I always went back into the building as soon as the floors were finished being waxed so that I could start setting up my room, because I did a lot of personalization things that were taken down because of testing purposes, and then taken down also because we were closing up for summer and we had to like box everything away because everything in our room was being taken out to do the floors. So I would always go back in and worry, start working on putting everything back out to make it look like a homey, welcoming space. Yeah. That was, for those of you not in education, I don't get paid for those days. I was going in on my own time. What about you, Steve?
I did the opposite of that.
Yeah, of course you did.
I was like, I was actually building the first week of school while the kids were in the room with me. I'm like, what do y'all want to do?
Did you even have posters on your walls?
I did. I always went back and forth on posters as a history teacher, because there is research out there where when there's too much on the walls, it's like distraction. So, but I didn't want it to be like an asylum either, like just nothing
dude
on
walls.
There. So I did not have dude walls, but there was a balance, I feel, of things. But yeah, no, that's good stuff. All right. So Sophie, super excited to have our first guest of the season. And we're going to be learning a lot. We're going to learn about a new tool that I don't think either of us are too familiar with. And, I'm excited to have another Californian. Always good to chat with a California educator.
Joining us today is Norma Gonzalez, who holds a unique dual perspective on public education. In the classroom, she's a dedicated special education teacher in Montebello Unified School District, bringing innovative skills like coding to her students. And she's an elected board member of the Mountain View School District, shaping the future of every community that she's in. And she also has kids, 3 kids. How do you do all of that? Welcome, Norma.
I wish I had 3 kids.
Oh, you don't have 3 kids? Well, the Google was wrong.
Yeah, it's actually the Bassett Unified School District that I'm a sitting board member currently.
Oh.
That's actually in the city of La Puente in the San Gabriel Valley.
Do you actually teach at Montebello then?
I do teach in Montebello, yes. I am a special education teacher in Montebello Unified. Yes, I have. Typically, it's a 4 or 5 combo. This year, it's one of those odd years where I'm strictly 5th grade. So that's only happened once before, where I only have 1 grade level. So that'll be interesting.
And so a little bit about your special education teacher life. So are you pulling kids out of the classroom and teaching them, or
no?
You
Yeah, so the resource teacher usually is the pullout. I'm actually the special day class teacher, so they're with me all day long. So we're self-contained.
Yeah. Okay, so over here, and for me and my boy, I have one boy that is in the inclusion classroom, and he is pulled for services, and then I have one boy that is in the self-contained, and he is on his own standards and like alternative standards. So are you more the alternative standards teacher? Yes. All right. Bless you.
So we do in the self-contained class, really what drives the day is the IEPs. So what the students are working towards. So it's very individualized. We do still have to follow the 5th grade curriculum, but we have a little bit more leeway to figure out how to incorporate that so that the student is, gaining the skills that are lacking.
Yeah.
So it's more personalized. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I love that. So Norma, just a little bit of context about like what I've been up to. Just recently left my previous companies, went back to my former district, and of course, when you do that, you have to do all like the new hire training, and I just got done with all of that, which was cool. And I was attending a session yesterday where a mix of veterans and newbies to the profession, right? And kind of just this, no matter what though, there's always a lot of learning to be done around SPED. Particularly in our state, right, where the way credentialing happens and what are the focal points of all of that. It was kind of interesting to like see like everyone like look at SPED data for our district, and then also like this confusion of IEP to 504, especially if you are a gen ed teacher or a CTE teacher. It's not always top of mind. Just curious, like I'm sure you've experienced that same sort of thing. Is that on par with like what I've seen as well?
Yeah, so in a self-contained class, most students, well, all students have an IEP. 504s are more for kind of helping. I usually describe it as, just a little bit of a boost for those kids that are able to function in a general education classroom, but just need a little bit more help. And that could be either because of a learning disability, things like dyslexia, or some kind of processing disorder, things like that. Or even they are full functioning autistic, but they're able to keep up in a general education classroom. They just need things like preferred seating or extra time on testing. So that's what normally a general education teacher would see in a 504, I would assume. Because in a self-contained class, we need to have everything laid out. We need to have goals for reading, writing, math. We input data, things like that. So it's very student-centered when there's a full IEP. Not to say that it's not also in a 504, but a 504 is just maybe one thing, two things, just to kind of help out the student in the classroom and overall. So that's kind of how I would describe it for you.
Yeah. No, and that's good, because I think me coming from like the general ed, like Sophie and I have very different backgrounds within education. Like I often hear general education teachers, they almost like use IEP 504 interchangeably as if they're the same thing, and they're so not, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Sophie would know because she's got one of each.
Right. Yep.
Well, actually, both of my boys have IEPs because they're both diagnosed autistic and nonverbal.
Oh, okay.
But one is just a lot more cognitively aware. And so he is in the general ed classroom. I have had taught a lot of 504 and IEP students, and it really depends on their needs. And because I've had inclusion, full inclusion with students who are autistic and learning disabilities, and with IEPs and 504s all in the same room. It's really just about providing the student with what they need to be successful. And I tried to make sure that I was doing that with all of my students, no matter what, but it was always a little bit more aware, like on top of my mind, because those are legal documents, when I knew I had that child in that room at the time.
Yeah. So Norma, what class size, like, cause you talk about like, having a contained classroom, like how you're doing that
Mhm.
personalized instruction for them, supporting them. Like, if you wouldn't mind sharing, like on average, how many students are you supporting at any given time?
I have fluctuated these past few years between 12 and 16. Um, I just got my class roster for this year. I'm at 13 right now. Um,
Mm,
so unfortunately in California, special day class does not have a hard cap. Resource teachers do have a ed code cap. I believe it's at 28. So those are the pull out ones, the ones that get pulled out or pushed into the classroom with the resource teacher. But yeah, it's really hard to do much of individualized instruction when there's more than 12 students in the classroom. I've
mm,
noticed that after 12, that's when it starts to get a little bit tricky, and I tend to rely a little bit more on, okay, let me do whole class for things that maybe the whole class needs to work on addition. Then let's do whole class addition. So that's, you just kind of try to find a way to make it work for everybody at that point, because yeah, once you have more than 12 students, it gets pretty dicey in there. Like to try to reach everyone at the amount of time that you want to do that, and
Mhm.
so I wish legislators would push more for. I know that
mm,
at one point there was one legislator that was trying to push for hard caps in a special day class. I understand the limitations of that, because I know like some school districts are smaller, some are bigger, and then you have to decide like, well, what if I only have 8 students enrolled this year, or what if So I understand the limitations. I just think for the benefit of the student, lower class size would be most beneficial, especially in a special education class. Because, and this is what I tell parents all the time, the goal is to get the students back into a general education classroom.
mm.
Let's give them the you know the tools, the skills that they need to be successful in a general education classroom. Um, Obviously, there are some students that will be in a special education classroom, through their educational career. Um, but we always want to see if they can, make progress and aim towards the goal of maybe at least having one general education class for one, we always try something that is a little bit more engaging, like science, social studies, things like that, electives, to kind of get their feet wet and see where they can be successful and get a little taste of being around similar age peers that are not in their special education classroom.
Yeah. No, I love, yeah. And because you're saying like, oh, 12. Bebe,
12.
12 was like, but then but before that you mentioned like, oh yeah, the most I've had was like, I don't know, 16, which like seems
16.
like, that seems crazy to me. Like if we can like, translate that over into like, I don't know, I come from the secondary world. Like
Yeah.
that'd be like, if you're like, oh, Steve, you're not gonna have 40 kids, you're gonna have like 50 or 55, right?
Yeah.
Which is like, would be insane, right? Like, and no, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
That's
You
been, I
had
mean,
40 kids before, Steve?
my district was it was about almost 40 per period.
wow.
So
40
and then
students?
40 students per period. I taught you in my district's 5 sections. So 40 times 5. When you have an optional, so you're teaching 6 periods, then you have like 40 times 6. They scaled
How do you
it
have
back.
classrooms that can actually fit that many kids?
I
Because
was going to say.
once I get to
Uh,
33, I literally don't have room anymore.
It depends on the school. My original school, the facilities were quite nice. Not that my current one is not, but like the classrooms were big.
Mm.
So, but then there's other schools where they're smaller, so the only option they have is like cram them into rows. I think they pulled it back recently at Norma, for context, Modesto City Schools, right? And Central Valley. I think they scale it back for secondary to 38. I think is the max now, 38 per period. It's a little better. Yeah. So
Yeah, we
that's a
don't.
whole different. We won't go there, but that's a whole different thing.
But yeah, it's kind of like that. Like you know
Yeah.
where the limit is. And after doing this
Mhm.
for so long, it's like, okay, 12, 13, okay, we got this. And you just start to notice that anything over a certain amount, it's just you're not reaching them the way you want to. So it just becomes more and more difficult. And parents should know that too, and they should advocate for
Mm.
smaller class sizes and speak up about that because they have all the power. I'm like, I have no power.
Yeah. Let's go,
Yeah.
Sacramento.
Yeah. And being a parent in that situation, we really do. We have an immense amount of power. We make one phone, like I'm that parent. You hear me coming, and they're like, Sophie's coming. Like I'm that parent. I'm very knowledgeable about my children and what they need, and I'm extra buggy. Like I bug them a lot because my kids can't tell me what their day was like. They can't tell me what's happening. So I have to fully trust that they're being honest with me when they tell me that this situation happened as to why my child has like a cut on his forehead or whatever, which is common. They're boys and they are boys. And so they're rough and tumble and stuff. So I also explained to them why this kid has a busted lip because his brother headbutted him. Like that's just so I try to be as transparent with them as I hope they're being with me. But then there's always that, like, I just have to trust them because my kids can't tell me. So it helps that I used to work with the self-contained teacher that's
Oh, that's
now
good.
teaching my son.
Yeah.
And there's only like 5 kids in there, and there are 4 aides. So there's like 1-to-1, which is extremely important when it comes to, because my son is the most sweetest, kindest, caring person you could be, but he's also extremely strong. So when he does tip over that edge and he's going to start fighting back or he's dysregulated, you need to be able to grab people and like
Yeah.
go and have him alone and like help him regulate and stuff. Like, and yeah, the other
Yeah.
one is
Kind of.
different. But yeah, so just
what I
thinking
hear,
back on.
well, because I was just gonna like one comment, like because I know like we're about 20 minutes in. One thing I hear often, and for both of you, like you both have this sped background that I don't. Kind of what I hearing like at social gatherings and parents that have like friends of ours that have like their students have IEPs and they're like what I hear almost consistently is like, I don't know what to do when I feel like my student's not getting supported by the system in some way, whether it's by the teacher or the plan itself. And then like they come to me for guidance. I'm like, there's so many like better people that you can talk to than me. It's just not my wheelhouse, right? And so like I just feel like there's a lot of parents out there, like we talk about kids advocating, like they don't want to be what Sophie's describing. And I'm not saying Sophie's doing the wrong thing. She's doing the right thing by her children, but like they don't want to be that squeaky wheel. And then like I don't know, like it's super challenging, I feel.
Yeah, they have to be.
You can't not be a squeaky wheel.
I know. And I always tell my loudest parents, I want all of my parents to be the loudest parents. Like I don't mind. I welcome it. Because how am I supposed to know if something is not going the way they want it to go if they're not telling me, And that's how I feel like we all should welcome, constructive criticism or just information. Like I feel like my student isn't really progressing here. What can we do? Oh, awesome. Okay, let's take a look at the goal. Let's see, is this maybe goal not appropriate? Is it going to be a big deal for me to have to schedule another IEP to fix this? Yeah, it is, but that's part of my job, And so we need to give a little both ways. So parents, tell us what you need, and teachers, be open to listening. And yes, it's going to be more work, but it's going to be worth it because you're going to see the growth that you want to see in that student. And you can feel sure that when you send this child off to the next grade, they have what they need to be to continue being successful because the parent was so involved. There is nothing, it's very, I mean, you do get sometimes, parents that are not, the nicest when they're trying to approach you. But even then, if you take that away, what is it that they're really trying to say? Because mostly that's coming from a painful place, right? So either they were not prepared to have a child with a disability, they're having a hard time, right? Like where you're having a hard time following along, understanding all of this lingo, all of this IEP, all of these words in here. Like, so, when I see something like that, I kind of step back and I go back. Okay, so this is what happened. So, I'm sorry, these things never stay in my ear. So you kind of want to say, okay, so this is what happens. This is how your child tested. This is why they're in this class. These are the goals. This is what the IEP means. This is the timeline. So every 3 years, they have to get reassessed because we don't want them to just be in a special education classroom just because they are already in there, right? So we check. There's checks and balances set along the road for them to be successful, to make sure that we're not just becoming a dumping ground. Right. And so, and just, offering, do you want me to sit down and go through the IEP page by page? I can do that. Let's schedule a time, let's understand timelines. What is it that they're really wanting, that they're really asking for, So just being open like that, I feel like kind of quashes a lot of that stuff, that negativity that they're bringing in. It's just that they probably don't understand and they're overwhelmed, So I try really hard not to take stuff like that personally, because now at this point, I see that it's coming from a place of just, I don't understand. I don't understand. I'm confused. I'm overwhelmed. So what can I do? And I usually can be the one to help them and to understand, what the game is, what the whole thing is about, and how it's really there to help not only their child, but them, and that they have the power. And if there's something in there that they don't think is the best road for their child, then yeah, let's take a look and see if we can update this. So just kind of being open to that, I feel like really helps parents in the long run. And it gets them on your side, It gets them on your side, and that's what you need. You need
to be
all of them
a team. Yeah, a team
Mm-hmm.
for the kid, and not fighting a war of your own.
Yeah, but and even when they ask you, just go through the chain of command. Speak to the principal. If there's no results, okay, go to the district office. Make a formal request, complaint, whatever it is. And somebody has to help with resolving that. Like, they can't just be left out there in limbo. There's usually a director of special education department, or teachers on special assignment that are also part of the special education department. So there should be someone in the district office that should be able to help too, if they're not getting the answers at the location, at the school.
Yep.
There are also parent advocates out there, and they do this as like their job, and some people do it voluntarily, or even just another parent that's in like a similar situation that know the law more than you do. Because every year they send home like this booklet, because my child has special needs. They send home this booklet, and it is like they shrink the page and lettering down, and it says it's a book, and I'm like, I'm not reading that. And like, who really does? And these parent advocates do. So you've got all of these other sources that could be outside this district if you're still not happy with going to the district. Usually I've only had to go to the district once.
That's good.
Maybe twice. Maybe twice. But what was What's interesting with me is that I used to work for the district that my kids are now in, and I used to work directly with the assistant superintendent who's in charge of special education. And I was like, I just sent her a text message. And I'm like, so something's up here. Can we get this resolved? And it got resolved.
Sophie
So
has
lovely.
connections.
I've got
It does.
connections. And if it was in a different district, that would be a different conversation.
Yeah.
Something else is that you can start your kids early in things. So you can do like we have birth to 3 program for if you find out that they have a learning disability or some sort of special needs when they're that age, like
Mhm.
2 was when Zane started, 18 months was when Xander started. And so like you can do those. And sometimes those therapists are also the therapists that are in the school system.
Yeah.
So, and that was the case. My son's just transitioned to the same school that his speech and pre-K teacher was.
Oh,
So,
that'll be good. That's a good
so it's just,
transition.
there are supports out there, but nobody, you don't start out thinking about having a family and think, okay, what do I need to do to prepare for a special needs child? Nobody does.
Yeah.
It's all about figuring it out as you go and doing the research yourself, because no one's
Mhm.
going to hand it to you on a silver platter to explain
Un-
everything.
Unfortunately, yeah. But
Mm.
lucky, we have like you said, a lot of resources now, YouTube, even TikTok, of parents speaking about, hey, do this and hey, do that. Like it's just so available now for parents.
Mhm.
So yeah, definitely do a little digging. I'm sure you will find something wonderful on YouTube that'll help you guide if you're not getting the answers where you need them from.
Yeah, TikTok's great. But you're doing something really cool with your kids, specifically with coding, right?
Yeah. So a few years ago, gosh, it feels like so long ago. I was working with an organization named SEER, SEER, and it was run by the Liebermans. And Gerald Lieberman actually helped write the next generation science standards that we have now. So he was on that panel when that was happening. And so they saw the need for curriculum for environmental justice or literacy, which was coming down, and there was going to be a Senate bill that said that required schools to provide lessons in environmental literacy. But there's no money attached to that. They just said you must teach environmental literacy, and there was no money behind it. So the Liebermans decided to offer their services. So they came to Montebello, and they were hired on to help K through 12 teachers develop units of study. And so we did that for about 3 years. We worked on those units of study. Then they were done. And I worked on 5th grade units because at the time I had 4th and 5th grade also. And once that was done and we were implementing the curriculum or the units of study, I was implementing them in my classroom and sharing them with my colleagues. We were approached by UC Irvine, and they had an initiative called Elementary Computing for All. And they wanted to borrow our units of study for 5th grade to weave coding into it. And I was like, really? And they're like, yeah, can we use your units of study? And I was like, sure. If you come and teach my students how to code, I will be more than happy to help you with that. And they were like, yeah, great. That's a deal. So they came, we used a program called Scratch to teach my students how to code. And then we started weaving in the environmental literacy component of it into the lessons. And so they had kind of, a skeleton of what they wanted it to look like. And then once we started piloting it in my classroom, it became something a little more robust with the coding, with the environmental spin to it. And it became, something where they were able to get more teachers on board. And so then they started teaching the teachers how to code so that they could implement the lessons in their classroom. And really it was, we were able to do it once a week, 1 hour a week for one school year. And by the end of the school year, my students had this wonderful presentation that they made on Scratch using coding, asking the principal for them to develop more green space, because that was the environmental need that they found in their campus, which was the, kind of like the gist of the lessons were, opening the students to see what are the environmental needs in your area, in your community, in your school. And so they coded an amazing presentation for the principal to get permission to develop the garden a little bit more and other areas in the school to be more green and less just kind of sit in there. And it worked out. And I mean, now to this day, we're still working on the garden, and so the years progressed, and we just kept building and building, and now this program is available for everybody to use. So let me pull it up real quick, and I can tell you exactly where. If you Google, gosh, I was just looking at it yesterday. I think it's called EC for All, and it should come up. Let's see.
Is it EC for All Academy?
No, I think it's a different thing, but I'm sorry, I should have had it available here for you.
Like EC or easy?
Oh, EC, because it's elementary computing.
Okay.
EC for All. I have an ecforall.org.
I think so. Let's see.
Lifelong learning. I don't want to shout out on the site I'm on if it's wrong.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay, hold on. I have it here somewhere. Okay, looks like they updated it. Okay, so it's curriculum dot elementary computing for all. It's all one word. .org -impact.
So Sophie's always faster than me. So while Sophie's pulling that up, I just want to say, like, I just love he's used the word weaving, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like finding ways to weave very, very critical things in the world that we live in into our classrooms, especially from like an access standpoint. So there are 2 counties in my area. I know 2 individuals that both work at the county offices in both of those counties, and they're very heavily involved in computer science, right, and supporting our communities in that way. And the one thing that they often mention to me is like, man, Steve, it is such a challenge to make computer science accessible, and that like that access to it, particularly with like, you see how this looks at various districts and school sites, and maybe I'm only talking California right now, but like computer science, STEM, oh, there's an after school program for that. That's a STEAM Saturday or a STEM Saturday, a microbit. Like, it's always an add-on
Mhm.
But that in itself is an issue, right? In terms of
Mhm.
access, you're purposefully integrating it. And it sounds like you're sharing the word as well with your colleagues,
Mhm.
which is great.
Yeah. Yeah, especially because, you know, there's 3 acts in this. So it goes from beginner to, you know, a little bit more advanced once you've gotten through the whole curriculum. But just sharing that, you know, and how much my students enjoyed it in the classroom. That first
Mm.
year that we piloted the program, even just that year, was the first year that I had every single one of my students leave as readers. Now, mind you, they were at all kinds of different levels,
Right.
but they were all able to, you know, write up their presentation. They were all able to read it. They were, you know, it was just amazing how much they were involved in this, in the creation of this, and because of that, they were learning, um, and they couldn't wait for the coding day. And like I said, we only did it once a week for 1 hour, but that hour meant so much to them, and was kind of like the platform for everything else throughout the week. So I personally saw the benefits of this, and I said, why would I stop now? So now it's just something that we do once a week in my classroom, is the coding. And then, you know, once the other teachers got involved, I was kind of like the resource for them to be, you know, when they would say, I don't know, this is really good, this is going to be really hard. And I would say, no, the program is set up, the curriculum is set up. So where all you have to do is pull up the slides, you know, maybe have a copy of the lesson plan for the day, because it's all there. It's all there for the teachers. The PowerPoint presentation, the lesson plan flow, the student workbook
Mm.
pages, everything is there to help guide you. So you are learning how to code along with the students, you know, and then there comes the point where they get so confident in it that they're going to start teaching you how to do things on Scratch. And so that is the best part ever. Honestly, the hardest part of implementing this curriculum is setting up the accounts. Really, that's the only thing. And even then, I mean, it's not too bad. So but there is a lesson for that too, of teaching teachers how to set up the account, how to set up your teacher account, give it a day or two, and then you can start inputting your students, you know, and so you can share a code, or you can, you know, make individual usernames. I make individual usernames just for security purposes. It just was easier for me to do that. But um, you know, the kids can create their own usernames. It's very kid friendly. It's got a lot of secure parameters in there, so you know, it's very safe to use.
Yeah.
But it's all
Uh,
there.
it's all there.
No,
Yeah.
it's all there. Even you can even request professional development materials, and
Mhm. Yep.
you have some of them even have versions of the presentation materials in Spanish.
Yes.
So
Yes, and
cool.
I feel like you know, the department over at UC Irvine that did that was you know, we're really proud of that, for them doing that, of making everything available in English and in Spanish.
So good.
Yeah. So
I'm just looking at it now, like I'm gonna be using this.
yeah, it's so user friendly. It's so teacher friendly. That's the thing, you know. Even on my campus, some teachers were very hesitant at first, but I was like, no, just find your flow. Once you find your flow, and you just kind of go through the slides, and the slides have bit.lys. So you know, the students
Mhm.
learn how to just type in the bit.lys, or you copy the bit.lys and then you share. I used to share it in our Google Classroom when I needed everyone to click on the same thing, because that just was the easiest way for me, and it's just saved time. But even
Hmm.
if you don't have that, if you teach your students how to type in the search bar, you know, the bit.ly address, then they learn how to do it really fast.
Hmm.
So yeah, there's
It
videos,
it's
timers, everything.
yeah. It solves
Like,
such a critical problem of like where most teachers are
Hmm.
like, oh, it's another thing. I can't learn this, right? Like, this looks like it comes packaged for you and
It's
broken
ready
into.
for you. Yeah, it was a lot of years of work and piloting. And there was another teacher, Denise Reynoso, over in Santa Ana, and she was also piloting, and she got all the way to the end. And so the both of us were doing the presentations at the Q conference, and she would go over how they were using data, and then they coded the data to make a visual chart. So it's, you can, and her class was an EL class, so our dual immersion, I believe they were English and Spanish. And so, yeah, so it's, and my students are special needs. So if our students are being successful in this program, imagine what a general ed teacher can do with this. So,
put it in all of them, right? Like,
yeah,
it's
What
all
I
about the
see,
experiences.
the people who are going to be hesitant of this the most are the teachers who want to be the expert in the classroom, who think they need to be the expert in the classroom.
That's a good point.
Because I was a coach after I was a teacher, and there are some teachers that want to know everything about a tool or a product or an activity before they give it to their kids. And I remember being a teacher and a coach and being like, all right, this is the first time I've done this. Let's just see how it goes.
Yeah,
That is
me,
modeling like the growth mindset for your kids. So if you're one of those teachers and you're worried about not knowing everything, you're modeling the growth mindset for your students and helping them realize that they weren't born with this fixed brain capacity, that you can continuously learn and grow and get better. And so I embraced that, and I really hope other people do too, especially when it comes to coding and computer science, because it's not just learning to code, it's the vocabulary around it as well. And in today's world, you've gotta know this.
Well, and it's all there. So if you want to become the expert, go ahead, go through the lessons yourself and teach yourself how to do that. And you will be the expert before, so, I mean, I'm very honest with my students. I'm like, I don't like this. Mind you, I ended up getting my added certificate in computer science because of all of this work. So I went back to school and, I got I believe it's called added certification or added authorization in computer science. And even now with that, I'm not the expert in coding. So, and then the kids still show me, oh, did you know that you could do this? And I was like, no, I didn't know you could do that on Scratch. Awesome. So, if you're just a little bit, open and honest and say, I'm not the expert in this, but we will figure it out. Or, the ladies over at UC Irvine, will definitely answer your questions. I believe their contact information is on the site too, if you have questions.
That's awesome. Love that. And so not to quickly switch gears here, but like you're doing a lot of work with Prodigy, right? Like, am I understanding that correctly? Are you working directly with them, or is it like a collab? Like,
it's more like they reached out to educators that have been using Prodigy for a while, and they kind of said, hey, we're rolling out this Prodigy teacher leads program. Would you be interested? So I signed up because I remember seeing something, I want to say on social media about Prodigy, and I was like, oh, okay. So I gave it a try, and then I showed it to my students, and they really enjoyed it. And so in the beginning, it was just kind of like an extra time kind of thing. But now, it's developed into something. So Prodigy is a math and language arts game-based program. And so you program the curriculum that you want or the standards that you want the students to work on, and you can individualize it or do a group lesson. And so, for example, let's say I'm working on greater than, less than, equal to this week. I can, program it into the Prodigy program. And as they're battling and playing the game, they have to answer, questions correctly about, greater than, less than, equal to. And then that's how they advance in the game. So when Prodigy reached out and said, hey, do you want to talk about how you use it in the classroom? I was like, yeah, like my students love it. They love Prodigy. I love Prodigy, especially as a special education teacher, because you're able to set those skills individual to each student. So if I know that there's, an area that they need to work on, I can program the Prodigy game to focus on those skills, and I have immediate data. Were they able to complete the task? Yep. Were they able to complete the questions? No. Okay, so let's go back and let me program a little bit more time on this lesson. And, if the parents, want a visual, you can print out, kind of like the questions and what they answered. And it's just one more thing that you can add to your parent conference, to your IEP meeting, to show the work that is being done in the classroom specific to, to the students. So that's why I love it.
It sounds sick. Like any with Sophie and I that are both like, we love video games. Like any time that we can chat about that. Is the data real time? Like,
yeah,
it is.
Well, maybe Steve, you could play and up your math skills.
There you go.
If anybody needs to up their math skills, it's me. Yeah. So no, that's super cool. And so I feel like it's tailored, like designed specifically for elementary. Am I off base on that? Okay.
Yeah, okay. It is. But I will tell you that I have my 5th graders that are going to middle school, 6th grade, and I can still see that they're playing it. So, once they get introduced to it, they'll take it with them, and they don't have to be attached to a class necessarily. They'll just keep playing it. And so yeah, they keep playing it. They just really enjoy it. I think the game part of it, and I mean, it's just, bonus. You're also learning math, and they also have a language arts component to it too, which teaches like verbs, adjectives, and so it's you can use it for all kinds of things. I don't use the language arts part that much thus far, but I have let my students play around in there, and I enjoy both. But for me, the math one is probably the one that I use the most.
Oh, that's interesting.
I just logged in and created like a demo student account with my account, and it goes from 1st to 8th grade.
Yeah.
So, and it's got this like fantasy Pokemon vibe going on with like the animals.
Yeah. So they collect pets.
That sounds right up our alley, Steve.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing this afternoon. I have to go take my car later to get oil change, so I'm gonna be there for a minute. I might just be playing Prodigy.
Can you play this on what devices do they suggest that you use to play on these Prodigy?
My students have Chromebooks, but I know you can play it on anything really.
But can you play it on a Switch?
iPad?
Can you play it on a Switch?
I don't think. Actually, I don't know. I don't know. That's a great question. We should ask them. Do you guys have it on Switch, please? Because Steve really wants to play.
Yeah, it can on Xbox,
right?
Xbox Live. PlayStation. We just got the Switch 2.
I'm sure if you could connect to the internet on those things, I'm sure you can.
That's
pull
crazy.
It out. Yeah.
So I just, because we are coming up here, I just love how, like, when I go observe my students who are student teachers, a tool like Prodigy, like kind of what, and if I do have a former student listening to this, I apologize, but like oftentimes I see things like Wayground or GimKit and like all these different things, like kind of what you talked about. We're like, oh, it's filler time. Like I need the kids just be, which there might realistically there might be a time and a place for that, right?
Yeah.
But I just love the way that you explain it and how you use it with such purpose, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you got into how you individualize it, aligned it to a skill or a standard. Like that's what we need, like those types of gamified solutions, but have that intentionality behind it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the balance, right? Like you need to figure out how to make sure that you're making everything meaningful, but not everything has to be meaningful and boring. And then you'll get a lot of the questions that we got during the Q conference were about, you know, district assessments. So, for example, my district uses iReady, and so
Mm.
it's the same thing. If you're using iReady, you know, iReady is going to tell you what is the section where the students are lacking the most. So, for example, measurements and data is an area that my whole entire classroom usually struggles with in the beginning of the school year. And so I will program a lot of the you know, measurements and things like that into Prodigy, so that they get more accustomed to seeing it, you know, in the game mode. And then once they get to their assessments on iReady, it's not such a surprise anymore. They're like, oh yeah, we know how to do that. Or, oh yeah, that's this much long, or this, yeah, we get it. We know how the measurements are. We know how to collect the data. We know data charts. It looks familiar, you know? So, so yeah, definitely you can pair it up with any district-wide assessments, I feel.
That's so cool.
Mhm.
And so it sounds like you're speaking on this, right? Like in that, were you speaking at Q? That's
Yeah.
kind of what I gathered. Okay. Are you planning on being there this spring? Is that
I'm not sure. I haven't been asked. That would be up to
okay?
Prodigy.
Got it.
If they want. And so we were kind of there as to give the teacher perspective of
Mm,
using Prodigy. And so because a lot of teachers were like, well, what is this?
mhm.
And you know, this is also free. And both programs, both the computing program and Prodigy, are just absolutely 100% free. There's no fees, no hidden anything. You know, and so that was another thing that really drew people to the session that time, was that it was free. They're like,
So
free,
rare. It's
free
so
game.
rare
Yeah.
right now that
Yeah. Yeah.
something's free. Sophie,
Mhm.
just kidding. But like, yeah, like no, that is a rare thing that a
Mhm.
tool like that is free.
Yeah.
Um, we are coming up on time, so I do want to allow some space on, you know, that one question, guarantee question that we ask on this show. And so Nora, like, you know, like, to maybe it's something you've already mentioned, or maybe you want to underscore something or something new, but what is top of mind, what's under the hat right now for you in education?
Probably the funding. So, you know, it directly impacted the UC Irvine collaboration that I was doing with the coding, and that
Mm,
program is federally funded. So that is coming to a close,
yeah.
unfortunately. So that, you know, directly impacted my students that way, to where, you know, they were able, I mean, luckily they were able to create this wonderful program before any of the cuts happened. And it's pretty much
Mm,
done. I mean, I don't know if behind the scenes they're going to keep working on it or not, but as far as like the collaboration between the school districts and UC Irvine, that's kind of done, because that's where the funding for that was coming from. Um, so yeah, the funding, I mean, it's we're really lucky to live in a state like California, where our legislators are, you know, our politicians are kind of trying to fight that right now. But I just feel for those educators that live in states where that's not going to happen. So, you know, a lot of the funds were able to be released recently. I want to say as early as last week or this week was when I was just reading from our superintendent that some of the funds are being released. So, like, you know, things for Head Start, things like that. Just early intervention programs are so important for all students. And so that's kind of on my mind right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, being back in the system, the school system in Cali, like, I see it, I feel it. I think all districts are just trying to figure it out, like do the best that we can with what we have available.
Mhm.
I've seen a lot of, and Sophie, this will probably like resonate with you. I've seen a lot of instructional coaches, like back in the classroom, back in the
Mhm.
classroom.
Because a lot of their roles
But
are federally funded. Like my old role was a Title II funded. So
Yeah.
if any of the funding is like cut or frozen, there goes my role. And this happened once before, and it's happening again. Where if I was in the district, I would have been riffed and had to have gone back into the classroom. And I don't even know if my position is still there, at least not in the capacity that it was when I was there. And that was only 3 years ago. Like,
yeah.
I think they're now stretched over more than one school,
Yeah.
which makes it harder.
Yeah, and you know, early education, science, you know, ethnic studies, all that stuff that was coming up. I fear that it's, you know, going to fall by the wayside, unfortunately.
Well, and like you mentioned, when it comes to the special education classroom and you're trying to get a cap on the number of students in your classroom, but you don't have the funding to have another class, but by law you have to have a funding for another class. So whose job is going to get transferred over into like to make this position type of thing?
Yeah.
And so it's, and the same thing happens in general ed. You can have a cap of, I think in West Virginia where I am, 25 students in elementary, and you can go up to 28, but then the teacher gets paid like more for those 3 students up to 28 or something like that. But if you don't like, so there's that wiggle room where you don't have to hire another teacher. And at my boys' school, that is something. They had 3 like first grade teachers, and then they had 2, and then they had 3, and that third position just sort of bounces in and out all the time because of that student cap being hovering around in that area. And that would happen again with special education classrooms if you did get that cap.
Yeah, special education is it's such a delicate thing to balance, you know. So federal money, state money, it's all needed for this, that, everything.
Yeah.
All students can learn, and we need to have the support in place so that they all have the opportunity to learn.
100%. Love that. Norma, we've loved this chat. We talked about like a range of things. I love the computer science piece, the SPED piece.
I already answered my first question in Prodigy. I'm gonna
Oh yeah, we're gonna be gaming with Prodigy. Sophie,
you can play together if you join the same world.
Yes, you can.
I was gonna say, Sophie, it's been a while since we've both hopped on and
A game,
yeah. But yeah, no. So Norma, thank you so much. Thanks for being a part of our show, and hopefully we'll run into each other. Hopefully you can make it out to Q. I do plan on being out, and so yeah.
I hope so too. I love Palm Springs.
Oh, it is. So yeah, Sophie's gonna get really annoyed because she's like,
Oh,
she's been wanting to go to Q for a while, but like everything about it, like it's a phenomenal conference with phenomenal people, with phenomenal food. Norma, where's your favorite place to eat in Palm Springs, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, my favorite place to eat is actually, I don't even know. It's not there anymore because I just went like a few months ago, and it was like a Mexican food place.
Course.
Oh gosh, it's got, and I was like,
So
it was right here. I don't know what happened to it, but
oh no.
Yeah, so now I have to find a new place.
Yeah.
But my favorite area in Palm Springs is the pool in the hotel.
Oh yeah, of course. Anyway, okay, cool, awesome. All right, friends. Well, appreciate everyone listening. Be sure to catch the website. Follow us on all the channels that we currently have, and give us a like, give us a subscribe. Really appreciate all of you. And as always, keep your hats on, but your minds open. Bye-bye. Take care.